Okay, gonna give some live tunes during the warm-up. That's the hi-hat. Let's put some beats on this. Well, actually, let's do some bass. Well, I set up earlier. There we go, this is done. yeah, this is just me messing around. The show starts at 10:30. That said, this is pretty sweet. flying cat. People rolling in. It's going to be 8 more minutes. I'm just going to mess around with like the tunes. This is on my new iPhone, by the way. This is not the iPad. I like this beat. She's like it is indeed Bob Earth Boy. Stay warm. Dance to this, it'll warm you up. alive. Grab a tasty beverage. Where else should I take this? Hey Lauren. Let's pump up some beats. Let's go a little bit crazy for the end, shall we? Let's pump this up. Okay, final setup. Wait for it. Boom, we are live. That is the boom. There's the comments. These are the topics, and it's good to see you all. How are you all doing? Hope you enjoyed the pre-show. I was just messing around with the old Korg on the iPhone because I can't capture HDMI and send sound at the same time from the iPhone. I can do it from my old iPad. I can't show the screen, but I was just playing around, and yeah, kind of got some good beats in there. Boom. Well, everybody's got that Fox Morris. Robert XXX001, James Kelly, Chris Lane Venturi, Sergeant Bilko there with the emoji. We're all rocking here. It's good to see you all. Hope you can hear me. And hope you're all having a very good week. It's cold in Tokyo today. It's like the first proper day of winter. Well, not winter, I guess autumn at the moment, but still. Steve from Berkeley, I'm glad you like the pre-show. Normally I'm like having showers and doing stuff like that, but it didn't open up tonight, so I figured I'd just mess around. Shubus is here now. Okay, everybody relax. Shubus is here. Everything is now under control. Shubus from Panama. Good to see you. Buenos dias. And yeah, it's excellent to see you guys. I was going through the stories today, and there's quite a lot to talk about tonight, actually. I know I come on most weeks and I say I don't have that many topics, so I might finish early, and I never do. Well, tonight I'm telling you I have a lot of topics, so we're all doomed, basically. I don't know how I'm going to get through this. Lauren Sakai, welcome to Japan, by the way. You're traveling here at the moment, right? It's great to see your updates and that you seem to be having a good time, so hello to you and your husband, and I hope you're having a great trip. And some new names as well. I noticed in the comments earlier, if I just go up and I shout people out, I see that we've got Robert in there first, where I am going to debunk the 10 reasons totally that's in the title, and that's what I'm going to do. Outrageous. I'm going to talk about that in a second. We've got Chris Lane Venturi 3D. James Kelly, Fox Morris, King Kodos, the J Vlog, good to see you. We've got Nissan R33 Z-Tune, good to see you, glad you like the beat. We have, who else? I think I saw Mr. Cordychep, who apparently doesn't like the music, but what can you do, Bald Burlet's boy. Sergeant Bilko, all the gang. Also good to see Soju Sunny, a new name. Always nice to see new names there in the comments. And say hello if you're in there, and say if you're not a frequent commenter. It's always cool just to hear where people are from. So please let me know. Good to see Lauren Sakai in there. Who else we got in here? Say hello if you're in there. And we'll get into it. Mr. Hicko Bit of Rush, Mr. Cordy Chip says Hicko Bit of Rush, we will be very tired in the morning. 2 hours show today. No, it will not be, because I have to go have a shower. I'm just going to talk extra fast, which you know I can do. But yeah. What's up, everybody? Hope you guys are remembering to use the old MyChan TV. Every now and then it is still the best way to catch up on subscriptions, and I do appreciate the support for that. Still thinking about what to do for the next step for that. I've been scoping out making an app, but it's going to be kind of pricey. So still thinking about other things. One thing I don't have in the topics, maybe the first topic that I'll talk about tonight, is that it's been in the news yesterday and today that there's going to be, the cabinet's now seriously considering adding an extra holiday in the middle of Golden Week for May 1st next year, which means it's going to be like 10 days in a row of Golden Week next year. This is to commemorate the new emperor. It's the first time ever that an emperor will be abdicating and a new emperor will be coming in while another emperor is still alive. Hey, Diggins Konto, good to see you. Of course my real name is Hiko-sama. What are you talking about? Well, I mean, you know, it's a name, it's real, so it's good. So yes, it looks like next year we're going to have the awesomest Golden Week ever. It just keeps getting awesomer and awesomer. It's another thing as well that whenever there's a new emperor, they always take the birthday of that emperor and they convert it into a public holiday. It's always a birthday. The birthday is a public holiday while there is an emperor. And then when they pass on, we have Showa Day, Green Day now, stuff like that. And so it's probable that we're going to get an extra public holiday when they switch emperors again, which is kind of funny. It means that over time, theoretically, when we get to 365 emperors, we probably will not have to work at all anymore in Japan. I think that's why they're building robots. It's preparing for the day that we have so many emperors that we don't have any more work days anymore, and I'm looking forward to that. But we will probably get one extra vacation from next year, which is another awesome reason to be in Japan and to come here, so that's pretty good. Barringer, good evening to you, good to see you. Whoa, ATM, is that an ATM? When you say ATM, are you talking about like a music machine, or that's right. My real name is Alois Shikogruba. Well, that's a pretty cool name actually. It sounds like a character in a Mel Brooks movie, and I would take it. I would wear that, and I would own that with pride. Mr. Cordycheck, well, even if you did in the UK, I mean, you know, seriously, as I understand, you know, Charles has been sending Princess Elizabeth like mochi cake presents for her birthday like every year, and nothing's working. That the Crown is not looking set to move on. I did enjoy the TV series of Crown. We have a lot to talk about tonight, so just a heads up that we're getting the extra vacation next year. I just realized I want to grab my water, which is just out of arm's reach, so I'm going to go get that, come back, and then we're going to dive in and boom, explode through the topics because we have a lot to talk about. 1 second. I'm back. Throat wobbler mangrove. That's, I don't know at all. Don't wear hair Sticklegruber's name with pride. I'm not quite sure I understand where that comes from, Quinn, but good to see you nonetheless. Giancarlo Sands, boom, welcome, good to see you. We are getting in, we've got a lot to talk about tonight. Okay, well, first of all, the topic of the video. There was some online internet controversy today. I'm sure you saw it. Basically, it's kind of funny. It occurred to, I don't know how to say this in a way. When people call Victor and I the grandfathers or the godfathers of Japan YouTube, I take it as a compliment. I don't get hung up on it. There again, I realized calling Charlotte and Michaela the grandmothers of YouTube, I would mean it respectfully, but it wouldn't sound quite right if I said it that way. So I'm not going to call them that. But that said, both Charlotte and Michaela, Michaela's been around like forever, and Charlotte is like, to me, she's like a shining example of the sort of, you know, someone doing it as well as you can do, being a real sort of J-vlogger in terms of her content and doing it professionally well and just nailing it. She's just got an awesome channel, and Michaela as well, in terms of like back when when there was no monetization or anything like that, she always approached it in a really sort of, you know, she always had a really good work ethic about it. She always really thought about what she was doing, and she's sort of done everything. She's gone all the routes into regular media while maintaining the YouTube thing, doing, you know, like, you got two people here that I respect very much as people within the broader Japan YouTube community. Michaela's actually really awesome just in terms of all the stuff that she does. So enormous respect for these two girls, and they got together to go on a vacation to Shikoku, and they felt so great about this trip to Shikoku that they felt the urge to sit down and, you know, trash on Tokyo. Not having that, of course, I watched the video. I was outraged through. No, actually, it was a good video. It was a good video, and you should watch it, and you should go and watch it and like it and say that you disagree with Hiko entirely. You can say that, but I do feel people, when I put that up and I said it was, the title is blasphemy, reasons to not go to Tokyo, I felt I had to stand up for my lady, for my woman, for my Tokyo, and you know, say some comments back. And someone said, well, why don't you do a response video? I'm not going to do a response video, but I am going to take the 10 points, so there's some slight spoilers for the video, but you should watch. It's actually amazing where they went. It looks really nice. The stand-up paddleboarding as well is something I'd actually really like to do. Plus Shikoku has amazing surfing. I've never been there, but I've heard about the surfing on the Japan seaside. Amazing beaches. I mean, it is a great place to go. So all of this, you know, taken into account, I feel the need to defend Tokyo. So this is an explanation, the top 10 reasons why you should not go to Tokyo. And that said, caveat, I started out going to Fukuoka myself, just like Michaela actually, so I knew Japan outside of Tokyo before Tokyo, so they make good points, and I'm going to rebut them here, just as a parochial Tokyo person. So yeah, spoiler alert, although you don't really have any choice, do you? So just listen. First point that they make is that there are less people in the countryside. Well, duh, yes, of course there are less people in the countryside because Tokyo is awesome. All the people in the countryside went to Tokyo. Look at the statistics. You should follow them. So, you know, again, the fact that there are less people, that just sounds like people democratically voting that Tokyo is more awesome. So, you've got that. Countryside is, has I can't read my own handwriting here. I took notes as I watched. It's beautiful, it has stars, it has clean air. Well, for a start, the air isn't dirty in Tokyo, it has character. And, you know, okay, it's not great in summer, but, you know, in winter it's okay. In terms of seeing stars, well, these two lovely ladies are from Canada. I'm from New Zealand. We can see stars where we came from. And we came to Japan, frankly, because, you know, if I see another star, I don't know what I'm going to do. I mean, it's very well having stars, but you know, Tokyo has stars at ground level that you can catch trains to and enjoy. You know, if you want to see them up in the sky in the middle of nowhere, you know, you can do that from pretty much anywhere else in the world. But yes, so yes, Tokyo has not pollution and no stars. It has character and stars on the ground. Point number 3, locals in other parts of Japan are extremely kind and helpful. Fuck you. I don't know. Yes, that's probably true. That's probably true. But you know, people in Tokyo are busy doing all the awesome stuff themselves. They're self-absorbed because it's an awesome place to be self-absorbed. There's less English and people connect more. Well, you know, again, people are doing their own thing in Tokyo. So there we go. Local foods are awesome. They pointed out the example how you go to some town and they'll like have lettuce or something, and they'll put lettuce in like everything, including like the ice cream, and like chocolate and cakes and stuff that it shouldn't be put into. They just do it because it's like they want to sell it. So, Mr. of Truth for China, yes indeed. Thank you, Mr. Quality Chap. So yeah, they have local foods, but the thing is, all the local foods you can get in Tokyo, so Tokyo is awesome for that. But yeah, sure. Wildlife, you know, monkeys, boars, lizards, butterflies. I'm half Australian, and you know, believe me, having lived in a country where I mean, just today, I was just reading a news story tonight that some kangaroo, a 6-foot-tall kangaroo in Australia, like beat up a family, put the husband into critical care. You know, they had to fend it off with like a shovel and 2 broomsticks. You know, I'm cool. I'm cool with not having wildlife. You know, I mean, boars are crazy. They can like injure people. Japan has like bears and shit. I mean, seriously. Inaka, yeah, it's good in the Inaka, but you know, if you want to go and be attacked by bears and boars and stuff like that, definitely go to the Inaka. It's awesome. Cheaper? Well, yes, it's basically, you know, just in the same way that, you know, certain brands of East European cars are cheaper as well. It is indeed cheaper, and that is a plus. Tokyo, the Rolls-Royce, baby. I mean, come on. You know, of course it's more expensive. Relaxed lifestyle. Well, you know, we're stressed out from trying to get all the cool and awesome stuff done. You know, we're too busy, like, being awesome to enjoy our lives. What can I say? Yes, I must admit, I think what they're saying is true. People really are genuinely friendlier and seem happier, but I don't know, it's like, you know, it's just so much stuff to do. Everyone's busy here, right? It's kind of like, yes. The unique culture aspect, indeed, there are many special, you know, you discover how important certain local festivals are in parts of Japan, and how, you know, whole towns are built around these things. And you don't really get that sense of, you know, like local culture in Tokyo. That's true, but there again, I mean, there are parts of Japan that, you know, the famous festival is like the penis festival and stuff like that. Now, that's fun to go to for a day from Tokyo, but would you want to live in a town? Well, maybe you would. I mean, you know, each to their own. But you know, yes, okay, they do have awesome local culture that indeed Tokyo lacks, and the outdoor activities. You know, again, Inaka definitely has more outdoor activities. But of course, I mean, of course it does. By definition, when you don't have any indoors, by definition, everything you do is outdoors. Tokyo has lots of indoor activities because it's an enormous city. So, you know, I feel like I feel the urge to defend it. But yes, I'll tell you what. All of that aside, I started out in non-Tokyo, and definitely Tokyo is very different to the rest of Japan. And I would say that you can have a great time in Tokyo, but you can't really say that you really get Japan just from being in Tokyo. People are different. People's outlook is different. Tokyo is awesome, and it's where I want to live pretty much for as long as, at least as I'm working. But that said, you know, the rest of Japan, if you really want to like get Japan and really understand what's great about Japanese culture and the people and stuff, sure, do what they say, go elsewhere from Tokyo. But you know, 10 counter reasons to not go to Tokyo are pretty much that. It's just like awesome, and that's it. I win. What can I say? Now that's an interesting one. I wonder what happens with that. Let's do that. Boom. So yes, that's the first story, and we are 15 minutes in. We have 45 minutes left, and I've got like 50 more stories to share. So let's just go into this one. The Zaitokai. This is a group which basically publicly does all these protests and trolls Koreans and says kick out Zainichi Koreans. Apparently, the founder of that party has started the Japan First party, and they are going to plan. In fact, was that today? Well, the fact that it didn't really make much news today. There are right-wing groups which are, right now the government, as I'm going to talk about later on this, is talking about dramatically expanding immigration in Japan, and there is a party that wants to stage protests against, it says anti-immigrant, but you know what, it says imin. Well, so I guess imin most plainly is, yeah, immigrants rather than immigration, so that's probably true. It could mean either immigration or imin. Personally, here's what I think. I think that the thing is with immigration debates in most countries turn ugly because people are unfortunately idiots, right? I mean, you know, we know this. But, you know, you can't rely on people to have rational, reasonable debates about anything nowadays, but especially not immigration. But that said, immigration is important and it needs to be reasoned out, and you know, I don't think that there is an inherently correct policy to this, and it is something which, you know, if it were possible to have a reasoned, thoughtful debate about immigration, it should be had, and I'm okay with people expressing the idea that we don't want so much immigration and to think it through. I'm still hopeful that in Japan that's actually, there's better hope of that than perhaps in other places. You know, for me, and there are things about with immigration, there are multiple approaches. There is multiculturalism, where you let people come in and preserve their cultures when they come. There is melting pot approaches, which is where you come in and you expect them to adopt the identity of your adopted new home, and you should debate which one of those you want to push. You know, there's what countries, what skills, what sort of visas you want to do. I think it's good in a way if healthy, rational debate is possible about immigration, I'm for it, including even these people going out and saying we don't think there should be so much immigration. Perfectly good. You know, they can vote, they're entitled to do that. Unfortunately, what happens, and these are the people that go through Korean neighborhoods saying everyone should die, so not so great, you know. And the other thing is that it pulls out the opposite extremists and it breaks down the debate. But, you know, it's good that the debate is happening, even if it is these morons. Okay, I know that you guys don't care about this stuff, but indulge me because I care about this stuff. So you know how America's gone totally isolationist, and they basically have gone no more trade deals or anything like that. They're just going to go big muscles and stomp on every country like one by one and get the best deal, and basically, you know, do what they did to Korea, just screw them over completely and you know, beat their chest about it. And doing that one-on-one, because America is economically and militarily the most powerful country in the world, yeah, they're going to get their way. They're going to have their way with every country in the world if they do it that way. And the only way to really counteract it, and see, America had two approaches it could always take. It could always do what it's doing right now, be isolationist and beat countries down one by one. Or it could be a leader of multilateral, of lots of groups and trade blocs like NAFTA, like it was doing with the Trans-Pacific Partnership, basically of getting multiple countries in win-win sort of trade deals where it would like encourage openness, movement of people, you know, movement of jobs, movement of, you know, this is the approach that basically America's taken in the last 20 years of expanding sort of global free trade, which is at least good that, you know, it kind of is a level playing field within those blocks, and it's kind of a win-win. Whereas they've kind of switched currently under Trump, this idea that, you know, oh, that these trade deals haven't been good for America and that they've been giving more than they're taking, a bit like the same mentality as Brexit. So now they're trying to do this one-on-one. The best way to show them that they're doing the wrong thing is really for other countries to basically make better trade blocks that show them that, isolating yourself isn't the best way to go. RCEP is a really interesting trade group. It was kind of like, a backseat to the TPP. It involves, indeed, China, India, Japan, and I never really saw, there was never really much motivation for those groups to really agree, but now there kind of is, at least in the sense that America is really pummeling everybody at the moment. And I think if you get a combination of the TPP and this going, it's going to really actually mean that when America threatens sanctions and blocking on countries to pressure them into trade deals, well, they're going to have these deals with these huge economic blocks that really are going to take that away, and it's going to signify a lost opportunity to America. It's going to, which I think is good. I don't think that the isolationist sort of bullying attitude is a good way to go about things myself. But yes, indeed, I probably do sound like the Chinese foreign minister. Thank you, Mr. Kordychev. And let me be clear as well. Quint Rankin, the powerful country in the world, is negotiating with the Taliban. Well, I think America, by and large, still, I do believe, actually, I'm an optimist. When it comes to America, I think America, by and large, has been a force for good in the world. Of course, it's done lots of bad things. You can list them up. Just go to Noam Chomsky. You can see everything. But I don't think I still think on balance it's been a force for good and will continue to be that. But at the same time, when it turns into like naked self-interest, it's really acting like Russia, it's acting like China, and it's disappointing. And I hope that deals like this sort of teach that, it can do the same thing. I've got it's camera things, I've got to go like this. Let's see if I can copy the thumbnail. I have to tilt over the other side. There we go. It's a mirror of myself from last night. This was the show 2.5 Voyages last night. We did the show with Radri last night on 2.5 Voyages. It was a lot of fun. Radri has a fantastic show, podcast, Why Come Japan, where he's gotten Tokyo Kuni, he's gotten Victor, he's gotten so far 30 episodes of just really, really interesting people talking about the stories. Did Brian Walters, who I really like, the other night. Just their stories about why they came to Japan, what they do here, what the relationship is with Japan, with some really interesting people that I think are really, really cool. Subscribe to Radri if you don't already, and check out the 2.5 Voyages from last night, because it was a good episode, and Radri's a cool guy. Plus he makes good videos outside of the podcast that he makes. Yeah. Tim the Asian Ink, good to see you. Philip Baker, yes. Interesting comments. And Soju Sunny, good to see you. Hi mate, indeed, good to have you in the show. This was an interesting one. This was in the news today. Damn, we're still on today's news and it's almost already halfway through, so I'm gonna have to talk faster. Okay, so a Niigata school attendant has been forced to resign over saying you, and I know that sounds a bit silly and a bit linguistic, but let me explain. That son of a bitch should totally, to me this is the right thing. So what happened here was a terrible case where a 13-year-old junior high school student committed suicide after relentless bullying, where the school was notified and did not take appropriate action. So the school board and superintendent paid a visit to the home of the parents of the child, and the superintendent, who apparently used to be the headmaster of the school when the father attended the same school, apparently in trying to have a conversation with the father, basically apologizing, a contrite conversation, apologizing for the suicide and the lack of action from the school for his son, threw in the question, "Omae mo hogoshokai ni kuru no ka?" which is asking, are you going to be are you also going to come to the PTA meeting? But he said it in the way that basically a teacher would, in a casually and condescending way, say to a student, at the very best, at the very worst. I mean, it's a real talking down. It's basically like, you fucking guy. It's pretty much the way that he said it. It's, it reflects a position that he wasn't there to apologize. He was there to basically boss this guy around. And he said to the father, when he paid them a visit over this, he called him omae. To a father, that he was apologizing for allowing the suicide of his son. So, again, with Japanese, with honorifics, an equivalent doesn't really happen in English. We have, I'll tell you what here, let me just do a bit of a timeout there. So yeah, you don't. We don't have this in English. I mean, of course, we could say, instead of you, we could say you fuck, or we could say motherfucker, or you son of a bitch, or whatever. You know, we can say things, and we can say you worship, you know, your holiness, or whatever. We have ways of elevating and degrading you. Japanese just has different proverbs, just like 10 different ways of saying you. You can say teme is the worst way if you want to start a fight, but omae, used incorrectly, can be like that. And yeah, that wasn't really a good way to do that. So New Zealand's just that high kiwi fruit tariffs on the US. Bull Billis, boy, that's happened to us. The US did that to us over the nuclear ships on New Zealand apples and kiwi fruits, and they wiped out our economy for 20 years, and it's kind of a sore point. Unfortunately, New Zealand can't really. Well, that's it. New Zealand really relies on good intentions because we're not powerful enough to influence, like by bullying, right? So that's why New Zealand's, you know, in the TPP. And that's why I'm biased on this, into wanting everybody to be, you know, on a rule-based, you know, free trade, open system. You know, I want you guys to be able to come and live and work in Japan. I want to go live and work where you guys are if the chance comes up. But, you know, it's not really the way that the world works, especially when you're in the position to dictate what, you know, to make things the way that you are. So anyway, this case, not cool. And even though it was just you and it sounds ridiculous, it was right on. That was not appropriate, and the guy had to resign. And good, well done there. This is just kind of interesting. Apparently, for the first time ever, the Japanese government has noticed that there are actually people outside of Japan interested in learning Japanese, and there is a shortage of teachers compared to the demand for people wanting to learn Japanese. Like in America, all these people want to learn anime and they want to learn Japan, and they're into the culture, and there is a shortage of teachers, so they are annoyed by that. And yeah, well, basically the government's looking at ways that they can fund sending extra English teachers, Japanese teachers to the United States and other countries to foster learning of Japanese language, which is great. It means there'll be more. It's something I often hear is, how do you learn Japanese? Because I'm in Idaho and I love anime or something like that. And yeah, the Japanese government, 30 years late, but they're on the case. They're going to work on it and figure out ways to help you guys speak some more Japanese. That's awesome. Mogberry Pie, how's it? Good to see you. And welcome to the show. We're action-packed tonight. I'm going to talk faster. This one could have been the main topic of the show. I've had an interesting... I raised this on 2.5 Voyages last night. Victor found this first. He sent it to me. And Jason's all sumo channel. Good to see you. Konbanwa. Minasan. Indeed, good to see you. So let's talk about this one quickly. Basically, The Guardian featured... Apparently this is a Japan-based... Instagram account. There's a guy, the artist who does this, goes around and makes a habit of basically photographing drunk, passed out people, and he's releasing a photo book on the subject. And they thought that this was a new phenomenon which is being covered by The Guardian, an English newspaper that's actually pretty good. Again, for news sources that cover Japan well, I think The Guardian does a pretty good job, and the regular journalist who isn't that guy does that. So when I saw this, the same as all the other cases, right? And the thing is, every time there's been a blow up about this sort of thing, you know, the sushi travelator, the train, you know, people crushed on trains. Quite often, it's a small community. This is a small town of people. Like in terms of English speakers, there's only like 30,000 of us. I know half the people who've been involved in these blow-ups before, and it's not my intention to trigger a blow-up against this guy. But at the same time, if you're going to be like a really good newspaper and you're going to cover a story like this, there is a reasonable question that you would normally ask, which is, do these people know that they're being published in a photo book like this, and are they okay with it? Like, you know, what if a kid found their dad like this, or somebody found out like someone from their work was like this? What if these people are actually in this situation, passed out, unconscious, because they have serious, you know, alcoholism? You know, it's an illness. You know, these are vulnerable people in vulnerable situations, in spite of you know, the fact that they're well dressed. And the fact that this happens a lot in Japan. Certainly passing out drunk is not unique to Japan, as much as that's the way it's being presented. So I expressed on Twitter my two objections. My two objections are, one, that in fact, no, what were they? I said them today. the main one is, in Japan, really, to be able to publish someone's face, you do need their consent, and you can get into a lot of trouble if you don't. Again, there's a debate about that, whether you can do this where they're in public, street photography. What happened was, when I tweeted my objections and my discomfort about this, the other thing that I felt about this, and it was more against the Guardian than the artists themselves. I don't want to bring down a huge hate thing on them. I think if this is going to get out in public, they're probably going to get in trouble anyway, and I don't need to be the guy that brings that. But when you're going to cover this, here's the thing: if this was in the UK and someone published a photo of passed out English people, the thing is, I think a UK editor of a UK newspaper seeing photos of passed out British people would think, well, what if that's someone that I know? It would be the first question that would pop in your head is, this is a person with a life. Are they okay with this? Do they know? Like, what about, they would raise the question about what are the issues with this, because they would recognize the subjects as human beings with lives, and they would worry a little bit about them and feel a little bit uneasy about them, even though you appreciate they're actually compelling photos, which I do. My feeling is that because these are Japanese people, neither the book itself, which I'm okay if the artist has a project with an objective, maybe not, but certainly if you're going to cover this, and if you see these people, as human beings, you should at least ask the question: did they consent to this? Are they okay with this? Do they know that this is out in public and they could be discovered like this? I feel bad for these guys. And the fact that it appears that, well, the Guardian article is completely non-critical and it doesn't even raise that question, to me implies that it's because they don't see these people as people. And I get the feeling that they would see these people as people if they were English, and they don't see them as people because they're Japanese. Ergo, I think they're dehumanizing the people in these photos by this person, and that's where I feel discomfort about this. Now, that said, someone involved with the publishing of the photo book did actually put the counterpoint to this today on Twitter. We actually had a very reasonable discussion, and I'm definitely not wanting to call out names or anything like that with this, or target anybody. He put the counterpoint. One, there have been other cases of art done like this before. Two, the focus of the project was not on the faces, it was on the fashion and the sort of, the fact that these are they picked out particularly well-dressed people for this project, and they do believe that it's not illegal per se, and we shouldn't be presuming that these people object, and certainly it's not for me to object on their behalf. Well, it kind of is, but I'm okay with, sure, it's up to them. But I did ask, well, do they know? Were they given the opportunity to object to this? So look, for me, I guess this is the thing. I've lived in Japan. I've developed a Japanese hypersensitivity to privacy over my time here, because and the reason, I'm careful about not taking shots like this myself, even if the opportunity presents itself, is one, I think it's not right, and two, I know you can get into a world of pain because we know the cases. And the thing is, I do recognize that this could be called legitimate art. It's compelling. Just in the same way, as I said last night, I really like the Sushi Train video that TQ Sam did. But at the same time, of course, the moment people found out that they were in that video and they said that they objected, of course he had to take it down. You need consent to post people's faces on the internet, even if it's in public in Japan. So, yeah, so interesting one there for me. It is actually compelling. I recognize the artistic value of it. I'd feel better about it if we had confirmation that yeah, so listen, Philip Baker, that strike too, I mean, seriously, you're putting people off here, and I can see that you're doing it on purpose. So you're in final strike, and I don't want to block you, but please just settle down a little bit. So anyway, there was this. It was in The Guardian. It's a photo book on fashionable people passed out in Tokyo. It's not a new phenomenon. Oh, that was the other thing that I objected to. Them painting up that this is a new phenomenon or something that's new that's happening in Japan. Of course it's not new. People have been passing out drunk in Japan probably since before people were wearing trousers in Japan. And they pass out everywhere else. I mean, seriously, do they not have passed out people in the street in UK or anywhere else? So again, to me, that was The Guardian taking a slightly exotic sort of angle on this. Yes, yeah, Fox Morris, and apparently this is based on one of those Instagram pages, which I'm not aware of, and I have no intention to go looking for. And it's a really sensitive area, like I say. It's something I would not do. And if you did this in any other country, I'd expect not only to get into legal trouble for it, but I would expect to get beaten up. And just because Japan is a country where you're not going to get beaten up for it because people are nice, doesn't mean that you should do it. Right? I mean, you know, and the worst thing is that if you publish this in the UK uncritically, like they're doing, it makes me afraid that people are going to get the idea this is okay to do and come over and do this in Japan, which is going to be pretty horrible for everybody involved. So yes, interesting one. I do recognize it as artistic merit. I don't want to advocate, you know, blocking free speech and artistic expression, but at the same time, my viewers, they could have, like, if the objective of the art was not the people but the fashion, well then you could protect the identities of the people. You could mosaic out the faces or block out the eyes or do whatever, you know. That's my view anyway. The J-Vlog has a thing. I have an awesome photo book on the soaplands of Japan. Very interesting. A woman wrote and filmed it. Actually, that does sound interesting. Hell, I would love to look at that. I'd be curious to see it. Congratulations on owning it. But you know what? That's fine. There's nothing wrong with showing the dark side of Japan, I'm sure, so long as the photos were taken with the permission of the establishments. I mean, why not? I mean, hell, I'd be kind of curious. I guess it's a way of visiting without having to visit. So, you know, that's pretty cool. Next one. Oh, damn, we are like 35 minutes and 25 minutes to go, and I'm not halfway through yet, so I have to speed up even faster now. Okay, tech stuff. I've just got the new iPhone XS XS. I like to call it XS because I think it's an XS that I bought this because my 7 was really perfectly fine still, but I got this one anyway. Samsung, even though Samsung and Huawei and these companies have had arguably just as good iPhones around, or you know, smartphones around for a while now, to me, I'm so locked into my iOS apps, to the way that the operating system works and everything like that, and the iPhone is such a good phone, that even for better phones and cheaper phones on Android, I feel like the barrier is now pretty high for me to jump, which is to say, it's not that it's impossible for me to jump, but I wouldn't jump for an incremental for a slightly better price or a slightly better spec. It'd take something pretty revolutionary to make me want to jump. Credit to Samsung, they are giving a heads up to the idea of a concept phone that they have sort of, you know, given concept videos for, that I hope becomes real, of a phone that folds out into a small tablet. So i.e. it's a foldable screen that normally shows one screen, but it can fold out and become like a mini, like an iPad mini. I love the iPad mini. I love a small notepad. I love my smartphone. If that's real and it really works, I'm going to be down with that. Actually, that would be something that would convince me. Something, if you have a screen which folds out like that and turns into a mini tablet, yeah, that would be something that would convince me to jump, because I admit that I'm locked in. I'm not an Apple fan, but there we go. Yes, I will gambaru Tim the Asian Ink. What else we got? I think I talked about this a little bit last week, but yes, we just found out again another hack. This time 35 million before, now 29 million users have had their information shared. Two thoughts on this. One, I mean, on the one hand, in a way, the only difference between this and what Facebook does as a business with the other billion users that it has is that normally it gives away people's information to people that we have no idea who they're giving it to, barely without a consent or whatever, on a paid basis. The difference with these 29, with this hacked information, where sensitive information of 29 million people was hacked, is only that it was stolen without Facebook getting rich off it. So, you know, in a way, we're kind of allowing Facebook to hack us all the time anyway. That's it. I'm on it. I like the platform. It makes me careful about how I use it. It does take me back to 2006 or 2007 when Facebook first came out in Japan, and one, Japanese wouldn't get on it, which frustrated a lot of startup people in Japan, and two, when they did go on it, they took over the mixi practice of, one, not using a real name, and two, putting a cat photo as the profile. And I remember there was this big thing about you know, that Facebook was torn. They wanted to encourage Japanese to use the site, but they at the same time were also deleting profiles that they thought were fake, or didn't meet the requirement of having a proper photo, or, you know, all this sort of stuff. I think they actually ended up with a compromise for Japan, that they probably allow Japan a bit more leeway than they do other countries in order to foster adoption in Japan. But I do remember reading blogs and news stories anywhere that you go. There was mainly frustrated startup people that had business models that involved partnering with Facebook or having sign-ins with Facebook and wanting people to get more onto Facebook, and were saying, man, Japan's never going to get into the internet age if they don't understand that, you know, sharing your personal information is a requirement, that they have to get on board with this. And you know what, I said at the time, well, Japanese, I think, are just smarter about protecting themselves. You know, the idea that we're in a new age where we don't have to worry about privacy anymore. And remember Eric Schmidt, you know, guys like him were preaching that as well. I kind of said, well, are we sure that the Japanese are wrong about this? And look at this. I mean, this is proof that they were kind of right. I mean, you should always protect yourself, and remember, it's for their business that they want you to share as much as possible. Some people pointing out, all these people saying that you need to give your phone number for security purposes. Well, now these hackers have your phone number if you're one of the people that were hacked. So yes, there is that. Hey, Tokyo Drew, good to see you, sir. Indeed, good evening. I have to go faster now. And this is just kind of interesting. This is not totally relevant, but this is just apparently someone did some research and published a paper on how to shut down bad faith debates on social media. As if the best thing in my book is just not to get engaged, but if you do get engaged, basically they pointed out 3 types of sort of troll, like disingenuous people who say that they want to debate, but they don't really want to debate. They just want to rant on or make their point or pull down your point. The first is the cartoon straw manner, which basically paints your argument as something that you aren't saying, which basically you can always fight back against people that say that, oh, so you're someone who thinks that we should just get rid of all people, and just respond by saying that no one claimed that. Next is the lie detector, which is an evolved form of the straw man, which is basically that you mean something that you're not saying, to which you respond that you're not a psychic. And the other one is the purity tester, which accuses you of being hypocritical, and just ask them whose authority they believe in. It's kind of interesting, just the idea of that, if you want to get into internet wars, which I generally don't, but just strategies for dealing with that. Daylight saving. Tokyo, as you know, is hot. It's too hot during summer. And in order to make it tolerable for the athletes, I've been talking about, and for people wanting to attend the Olympics, which are going to be held in the middle of summer. The last time they did the Olympics in 1964 in Tokyo, this was when Tokyo was a lot cooler. They moved it till September because it was so hot during July in Tokyo. But they are going to do it during the day, and apparently the debate about introducing daylight saving, moving the clock of the entire nation of Japan 1 hour sooner during summer, during the Olympics, in order to make it cooler when the athletes run. I never understood that. If they want to if they want to have the athletes run at a cooler time of day, why move the entire nation's clock 1 hour forward? Why not just schedule the marathon from 5 a.m.? I mean, the athletes can come and decide to start a routine based on the time zone that they need. Someone else pointed out, well, what about people that want to attend the events? I mean, but even then, okay, run the trains earlier in the morning and later in the evening, and why not do more events in the evening and in the early morning and not so much during the day? I don't understand still why you need to actually change the clocks purely for the sake of the Olympics. But that said, this guy, who is the head of the Japan Olympic Federation, or whatever it is, he's pointed out that the momentum towards bringing in daylight saving for the Olympics is being slowed. Everyone thinks it's a bad idea, and he's saying, well, if that's the case, I guess the athletes are just going to have to prepare to deal with intolerable heat. But i.e. he's kind of passively aggressively saying that we're failing on this. Which he's entitled to say, I guess, but honestly, I never got the point for this personally. That's my thing. We have daylight saving in New Zealand. I like it. I was used to it. It is weird when you're here in winter, in summertime. Particularly when I used to stay out all night and go clubbing and stuff like that. You'd be going home. The first train at 5 o'clock. It's bright. The sun comes up 4 a.m. in summer. So that is a little bit wasted. I'm okay with daylight saving in principle in general, but the idea of just doing it for the Olympics is a little bit strange. This week, the Japanese passport became the #1 passport in the world in terms of visa-free travel, after Shinzo Abe visited Myanmar and set up a visa arrangement where Japanese tourists can visit Myanmar basically without the need to pre-apply for a visa. That meant that Japan overtook Singapore as being the best to travel on passport in the world. When I came to Japan 20 years ago, the New Zealand passport was actually like the 2nd or 3rd best passport in the world, and Japan was further down the rank. And it's one of the things that always made me think I wouldn't want to give up my New Zealand passport for a Japanese passport, because the New Zealand passport is so much better. But truth is now, you got both. The funny thing is that you need to pre-apply for a visa to travel to Australia from Japan. So my son, who at least while he's a kid legally can have 2 passports, he's got the best of both worlds. He's got New Zealand and Japanese passport, so he can basically get the benefits of all the additional countries that New Zealand can travel to that Japanese can't, on top of the long list that Japanese can. So yeah, if you have the chance to get a Japanese passport, I mean, again, I would love to have two passports. I'd love to actually, if you could have dual citizenship, I would take it, and I'd take that passport, and I would, with pride, show having a Japanese passport. But I wouldn't go to the point of giving up my existing Japanese New Zealand passport for it, or giving up my son's right to have the option of that. But that said, it's a pretty good passport, so that's kind of cool. Right now, the cabinet debates expanding permanent residency and long-term visas for expanded working categories, including not just highly skilled English teachers, university professors, bankers, diplomats, everything that's been there to date. Now they're talking about blue collar, factory workers, stuff like that. Again, recognizing that these people are needed in Japan, that's a good thing. I've talked about before the obstacles being in an awesome place, especially like Tokyo, to marriage, just that it's kind of a real sacrifice to have it. It's a great place to live like on your own, and it's a terrible place to have to actually have a family and or to be responsible for somebody else. The marriage rates in Japan are declining, and it's a huge burden and expense. And it's a long article, but it's worth reading. Nippon.com. Peter Durfee does an awesome job with this, and you should follow it and check that out. The new immigration law revisions have been outlined in the Diet. And yes, again, more opportunities to come to Japan if that's what you want to do. Starchy pancakes. It's not possible to get dual citizenship in Japan. If you are a child born with a Japanese parent, you are legally entitled to hold dual citizenship until you are like 22 years old, at which time legally you are required to choose, although it's not an enforced law. So generally, half Japanese kids are often allowed to remain dual citizens, but in terms of becoming a dual citizen, you cannot. Japan, like Germany, like Switzerland, like a bunch of, actually most countries, the majority of the countries in the world do not recognize dual citizenship. I would love dual citizenship, but I'm from a country that recognizes dual citizenship because we were colonized by the English, and it was a way to encourage English people to come and take over New Zealand from the Maori by allowing British people to become New Zealanders while remaining British at the same time. Basically, every significantly colonized country in the world allowed dual citizenship in order to allow white people to come and take it over. It's a wonderful thing, and I think, I would love if Japan would have it too, but, we don't have the same desire to conquer and replace the Japanese people as a motive for it that we had with New Zealand, so that's why they don't have it, but I would love it myself. So yes, basically yes, the standard 1-year visas and 3-year visas would become standard 5-year visas. That'd make it basically easier to come and stay and commit to living in Japan. That would be awesome. So look out for that. There'll be more news on that coming up soon. Japan and China are teaming up on self-driving technology. Self-driving technology, as you know, I'm like, where is it already? I need it, I want it. And I'm kind of glad that China is involved in it, actually, because the thing about China, from what I read and understand, is that we're in the West, we all watch like Philip K. Dick, we watch Black Mirror, we think, oh my god, AI is going to be terrifying. We watch all these movies about how the world's going to end when we're going to weaponize intelligent killing, self-AI and all this sort of stuff, and we're all very slow and cautious about the ethics and thinking it through. China's not thinking it through, from what I understand, and the upside of that is that it means that they're probably going to get to having super intelligent AI before anybody else, because they're basically full on government, everyone investing everything that they can into getting the best AI as soon as possible, which means the fastest way to having self-driving cars. The problem is, I suppose, they're not really, because again, what I've read and understand is that they're not quite observing the same ethical constraints on AI research that Western countries are doing. It puts us behind a little bit, but of course it means that they also might have be the first country to design uncontrolled killer robots that end humanity. But we'll have self-driving cars, and maybe that's how they'll do it. Maybe the cars will kill us, who knows, but we're going to have a fun time in the self-driving cars until it's done. And if Japan's going to team up with any country that's going to figure out the AI of getting self-driving cars done first, I would say, well, China probably has a better chance than America, both because of the complete lack of ethical constraints into researching AI and the data set. It's just a bigger country, more people and a lot of very smart people. So yes, that is that is, I think, why that is awesome. NHK is finally going to do self-driving cats. I don't know about self-driving cats. I think there should be serious ethical constraints on self-driving cats. You wouldn't want cats going around just anywhere. NHK is looking to start simulcasting NHK on the internet, so you'll be able to watch NHK on your mobile phone, hopefully outside of Japan as well as inside Japan. This is what I think all TV should have been 30 years ago. The fact that NHK is going to be moving, hopefully, to actually being as much broadcast on the internet as of. It might mean higher NHK feeds, which would suck, but I do like NHK. It does excellent quality news and documentaries, and that is awesome news, provided the NHK feed doesn't go up. So that is pretty cool. I've talked about this before. South Korea is tearing up the Comfort Women agreement, where basically they set up a fund funded by Japan to pay out compensation to all the 85-year-old plus Comfort Women, to give them compensation and pensions. And apparently Korea doesn't want to accept the settlement because they want to still try to get a better deal. So although they signed off on setting up this fund and started distributing all the money for it, they've decided, well, if they distribute the money, then they can't hold the issue open, which they want to do, so they are terminating the Comfort Women Fund. This was fun. There is a workspace that I was at, which has like a artificial intelligence selfie coffee maker, which I used, and apparently when I tried to make an angry, slightly racist face, it said that I looked 8% like Henry Ford. So there we go. Have you driven me lately? And it gives an inspirational quote from the slightly racist, powerful Henry Ford. There it says, あら探しするより改善策を見つけよう, which is don't complain about it, find a remedy, which I quite like. So yes, I tried to do an angry coffee face, and it came out. The coffee was delicious as well, so that was pretty cool. Hey Sonai, good to see you. Good evening to you. Speaking of killer robots and we're all doomed, did you guys see this? The latest Boston Dynamics video? This is freaky. Check this out. I mean, the thing is, for every like robot movie, like Terminator, you imagine the Terminator things. The thing about the robots were they were relentless and unstoppable, but they were slow and kind of clumsy. You always relied on human agility to be able to run away. Look at this. We are screwed. I mean, if you combine Chinese AI and that, well, at least I'll be able to get away on my self-driving car, which will probably drive me towards the attacking killer robots. But that is really cool. I mean, that's crazy. That is insane. Anyway, I'm not doing well. First Gruber and now Ford. Well, what can I say? You know. The Marunouchi line in Tokyo is going to have new trains, and they look sexy and cool. They're coming out next year. I love the trains. I mean, they're my self-driving car for now, although right now they still have drivers, but they are going to be very nice, and I'm looking forward to that. Did you ever hear about this thing when Trump talked to Shinzo Abe? And it's kind of funny how Trump said, I want to go crush the Japanese. We haven't forgotten Pearl Harbor, yada, 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 bullshit. And apparently, you know, and when he came out, it was like, oh, they went really well. Well, apparently, Trump, while he was there, he's got a friend. I forget his name, but he's one of the big Vegas hotel chain, casino resort chain owners. He owns the Las Vegas Sands. What's the name of the guy? But basically, he said, hey, Shinzo, can you do something about getting my benefactor access to the Japanese casino market? And Shinzo was like, oh, sure, I'll get right on that. Yeah, sure. And they came out all huggy-dovey, which again, well, you know, America, I love you, America, I love you, America, but you know, that's some third world, that's, you know, oil baron shit right there. But you know, what can I say? Sheldon Adelson, you know, again, Japan's doing a law to introduce casino resorts anyway. Nothing like asking for a kickback. I mean, he is a real estate developer. But seriously, I mean, you know, that's speaking of what that's like, the next story is about Russia. Russia denounced Japan denouncing Russia. It's a circular, it's literally a Russian reversal. You know, when you criticize territory, when you denounce territory occupied by Russia, Russia denounces you. I mean, it's literally. When they held military exercises off the northeast territories of Japan, the southern Kuril Islands, which are not the entire Kuril chain, but the islands that link between Kamchatka Peninsula and Hokkaido. There's like 4 islands right beside Hokkaido that people used to live on, and they were sent to Siberia and then allowed back to Japan. And they're basically refugees still living in a town right beside where those islands are. waiting to go home, and Japan has said, look, we're cool with giving back all the land to Russia that we took, Sakhalin, everything, but these 4 islands were inhabited like pre-Meiji. They've always been Japanese, and we want to go back. Russia just took them because they want to be able to protect the Okhotsk Sea, basically, where the entrance to Vladivostok, their whole Pacific fleet. If Japan had those islands, they'd have a little channel that they could go on and spy easily on Russia. So it's security reasons that they kept it. They took the islands in World War II, and Russia argues, we won World War II, you lost, screw you guys. Japan's always said, you're not going to get a peace treaty for World War II unless you give those 4 islands back and let the people go back to their homes. The islands are inhabited, and Russia's been kind of dicks about it, but to Japan these are occupied territories. To Russia it's like, you lost. There's both perspectives on this, but apparently when generally there's a degree of sensitivity exercised between, and they're still edging towards the idea of a peace treaty with Russia and some sort of settlement over these islands. In '56, Brezhnev agreed to give them back, but then he died, and then the other guy said, fake. So what's going to happen is, I guess, so there was some military exercises, and the Japanese Foreign Ministry put out a totally routine that it's not cool that you're putting military forces on these islands, which you are holding in trusteeship for us because technically it's occupied territory. And Russia came back and said, we won the war, you lost. And so basically they denounced the Japanese denunciation. I like the Russian reversal aspect of it. Convenience stores in Japan are likely to be required to charge for plastic bags because of all the plastic waste in the world. Also, Jonathan, the chain that looks like it's following American Starbucks with the idea of eliminating plastic straws. Certainly, I mean, petroleum, which is used for plastics, is a finite resource, and there's an enormous amount of garbage, and this is a huge problem, so it's good that there's some awareness of it. This is a trend that's happening overseas, and certainly the idea of putting them into my bag instead of carrying around and having extra plastic bags. I do find the plastic bags handy for like wrapping up, tying up rubbish, sealing the smell and throwing it away. But it looks like Japan's going to take a serious look at actually forcing you to pay for plastic bags like it's been happening elsewhere. This was a big kerfuffle at the start of the week. The head priest at the Yasukuni Jinja Shrine. Now remember, Yasukuni is Shinto, and Shinto recognizes many gods, but among the many gods that it recognizes the emperor as a living god within the religion of Shinto. So basically, the whole position and the mystique and aura of the monarchy in Japan, of the royal family, of the emperor, is based on his position in Shinto as a spiritual, religious figure, as a deity, as a god. So that said, okay, yes. Wait a second. Remove. Oh. Yep. Sure. Sorry, Bill Billis boy, done. The so basically that's Philip Baker. There we go. So that should be the last one. So basically, this the priest who only became the new head priest of Yasukuni Jinja. There's been a thing because of the political sensitivity of the shrine. Basically, ever since the previous emperor, the previous emperor was Showa. So I don't know, but basically since Heisei, the current emperor has never visited, and there's an expectation the next emperor will also not visit Yasukuni Jinja, which itself, of course, from an advocate's perspective, it is a place where 35 million war dead were basically enshrined, and so you've got all the souls of like 1 and 3 Japanese people has an immediate family relative enshrined in Yasukuni, and this is these people are themselves mostly victims of the war, and this is a place that you go to, like any war memorial, to pay respects to your granddad, whatever. But of course it's been politicized that it glorifies war criminals, which the priests unilaterally put into the shrine during the 1970s, and the emperor stayed away from it. So apparently there was in a conversation with a weekly newspaper reporter, the new head priest of the shrine apparently gave a 1 hour long rant, basically talking about how the emperor and the new emperor and his wife were like going to destroy the temple. going to destroy the shrine, and he basically was flat out criticizing the emperor as a person and the next emperor as a person. Pretty, like, again, for a religion which holds this person as a god, it was pretty unique in the fact that the whole thing was recorded and then published. I mean, I'll tell you what, if he was thinking about visiting Yasukuni Shrine before, he's definitely not now. So it's bad times for the shrine. The priest is going to have to obviously resign. But yes, so all of that. This, have you guys seen this? So I've got like the Ricoh 360 thing. The resolution's a bit too low. I thought it was a really interesting first generation product, but this is 5.7K, and it's got the software involved where even if it's like rattling around or whatever, it's going to be high resolution in any direction, and it stabilizes based on, you know, it gyros to basically show a really clear 360 image. So this looks like it's a really good version of the Ricoh 360. Plus, it's got all these things where you can like throw it on a dart and it will give you like a flying 360 sort of video. Check it out. This thing, Insta360. It's like, I've got my eye on this. This looks to me like a really cool sort of action 360 camera. So I haven't been making many YouTube videos lately, which, you know, is of the sort that I'd post, but this to me looks like a lot of fun and the sort of thing that I would want to post. So yeah, to me, I think this looks really cool. I've stopped watching the Shane Dawson, Jake, what's his name? Jake Paul series. I saw like the 4th episode. I'm like, oh geez, okay, this is just a boring crap thing now. It's just a tour of his house. Shane Dawson himself was featuring this, what's it called again? This mental health counseling thing called, what's it called? It's called BetterHelp, which got the infomercial treatment from Shane Dawson. A lot of YouTubers are endorsing it. Apparently the therapist is, I think that they showed in the Shane Dawson thing was linked to this, and apparently there are stories that it's a scam. You know, it's not a reliable service for therapy and counseling, and this is another case of, you know, sort of dodgy advertisers going to YouTubers to go and get this stuff promoted, and they're getting called out about it. So interesting one there, and I guess this is not the first time this has happened where people have gone to YouTubers to promote dodgy stuff. That is a fugly car, but seriously, still the idea. You've probably bought your last car. What I found really interesting about this article in the BBC about last cars is the idea is that when self-driving cars come, the theory is that it's going to take over right away because it's going to make so much sense. And they point this out. This is really cool. Look at this picture here. This is 5th Avenue in New York in 1900, and check it out. There's no cars in this picture, right? 1900, 5th Avenue, New York. All the traffic is horses. And then 1913, 13 years later, they're same 5th Avenue. There are no cars. Also, there are no horses. They kind of point out that, cars took over from horses so quickly, and the idea is that self-driving cars, particularly when we get to that level, when they come out, are going to make so much sense. I can't wait either, and you know, there's the prediction it'll have that same sort of dramatic impact, which I hope it will. I also don't think it'll make sense to have driven cars and self-driving cars on the same roads, right? Because there'll be safety issues with that as well. So yeah, I think it'll make total sense, and I can't wait for that. There's been an immigration deportation. Oh damn, we're on 1 hour, but I'm gonna go really fast. There's been exactly like they have in Australia and UK about immigration being dicks to migrants. They have a, you know, illegal immigrant like documentary thing on Fuji TV at the moment. The good news is that maybe unlike other countries, it's actually been received like with a lot of criticism in Japan that this is violating the human rights of the admittedly illegal immigrants that it goes to police. But you know, the fear that it's fostering, you know, racist mind, which again these other shows do totally, and it doesn't even get questioned. But it's being questioned in Japan. But there it is. I should actually check that out. I haven't seen it. This is the Insta one. I really do want to check that out. Record number. Apparently now there are more and more international students coming to Japan, not just for a gap year to study and have fun and go back, but actually to stay and work, which is a good thing. Japan is the most powerful passport in the world. We talked about that before. The best behaving Yasukuni Jinja priest. We have Japan. Apparently half the population may have insomnia. They may sleep less than 5 hours a night on average. It's like the sleep patterns of Japan are extremely low. So that doesn't surprise at all. Me as well, especially when I was younger. I used to, in Japan, just the rhythm is you work late, you go home, you watch TV late at night, you get up early in the morning, people sleep on the trains, and you're always tired. That's true. The Man in the High Castle season 3, I saw that. So that was, I saw the final episode of Better Call Saul. Wow. I'm a big fan of Better Call Saul. If you're watching it, go watch it. I won't spoil it, but damn, that was like some heavy. Wow, that was like whoa. Yes. My Google skills are low. Mr. Cordy Chap, that's not me. That's good. Okay. Oh yes, the new global climate change report, the latest one from the IPCC, says that we are probably a lot more screwed than we ever thought we were before. Like 2040, we're going to start seeing the same sort of catastrophic climate change that we thought would take until 2100. Two heads up on that. One, I mean, the fact that we've pretty much just flagged, like trying to do anything about it is ridiculous. And two, if we do want to seriously do something about it, we have to get past this idea of getting rid of nuclear power. I'm all for renewables. My job used to involve promotion of renewable energy, but at the same time, if you seriously want a non-carbon based energy economy, the quickest, biggest way, if you're serious about replacing thermal power, you have to include nuclear in that, accepting all the separate risks of nuclear power. But people are just not caring about this anymore, and it's a serious, again, where some people still want to debate whether it's caused by humans or not. Again, the consensus is that it is caused by humans, and that and there's certainly no debate that it's happening. And it's just kind of ridiculous that that's there. I talked, I think, last week about the whole drama about the Rising Sun flag, about the Marine Self-Defense Forces flag. That the Koreans said, please don't fly that flag because it's offensive to us, because it looks like the World War II flag. And Japan said, well, we're required by law to fly the Navy flag on our Navy ships, and if you're saying that we can't fly it in an international exercise, then we'll just not participate in the exercise. Korea lost its shit and said, hey, you shouldn't pull out just because we told you not to put on that flag. It turned out that when the exercises happened without Japan, the Koreans put a historical flag that they used for back in the 15th century when they fought against Japan, that they flew from their ships, even though they said no flags other than standard national flags. So again, standard Japan, Korea rubbish at the moment, but the usual. The Man in the High Castle, yes, I did enjoy that as well. The new season was out, I watched the whole thing. Spotted a Kiwi from Shortland Street, yes, because we all know each other. She was on a TV show in New Zealand in the 90s. 47% of Japanese agree with having more foreigners. They agree with more immigration. That was surprising, actually. It's a good statistic. It says that they recognize the shortage of labor and the need for more immigration, so that is good, and the government's taking advantage of that. And more signs now, putting up signs like this, which is that they are recognizing and distinguishing the tattoos of tourists that are not Yakuza and are not Yakuza tattoos, and they call them design tattoos. It is okay for foreigners with design tattoos to say, in fact, they actually don't even say foreigners, they say, this hotel will allow for people with design tattoos to stay, i.e. they're distinguishing now between Yakuza tattoos and design tattoos, and this sort of thing is expanding, and that is good, and it's going to be necessary with the Rugby World Cup and with the Olympics coming up, and so common sense prevailing. The Expanse is coming back. I believe early next year. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait to see it. And that's the show. I got through it all. I talked really fast at the end. We are like 6 minutes over. I hope you guys enjoyed the pre-show. I was just playing around with that track. I might record it sometime during the week. Obviously, I'm still playing around with it, but that's it. Any questions for me? Quit Ranked, where will we put the new plants? Well, you have to think, well, this is the good question, but you need to put them somewhere. I mean, again, the new standards which are being used for nuclear plants in Japan is that they have to be able to withstand tsunamis now. You have to put them by the ocean because you need to cool them off. So hopefully the new standards, which are based on making sure that in the same circumstance as the last nuclear accident, that the same thing wouldn't happening, and hopefully is good enough. But anyway, that was it. I'm always on fast forward. So it was so crap, it was good. Are you talking about the show, Mr. Cordychep? Well, that's how it is every week. That's what you come back for, because you love it. Have a good week, everybody. Lauren Sakai, enjoy your continued travels in Japan. Eric Timmer, good to see you. I agree that The Man in the High Castle was good. I quite enjoyed it. Not great. I like Better Call Saul better, but yes, it was still good. Everybody have a lovely week. Remember, wear warm clothes, don't catch a cold. Everyone's catching colds right now, and keep cool till after school. Kakite ano, Terrasets, good to see you. That's a username I don't recognize, but good to see you. And good night, everybody. Remember to like the video if you liked, because it makes me happy. I like that. So thank you very much. Have a good night and peace. Boom. Turning it off.